Today's show is sponsored by the ABV Network Merchandise Shop. Check out our large assortment of logo merch and our lifestyle collection as well. Just head over to abvnetwork.com and click on shop. We are also sponsored by The Bar to Go. The Bar to Go offers a fully customizable carrying case that allows you to take your favorite distilled spirits or cocktail ingredients with you. Whether you're looking for yourself, a customized gift, or logo items for your business or event, The Bar to Go can help. Check them out at thebar2go.com. Use the number 2 when you type out The Bar to Go. Did you know Neely Family Distillery now ships its popular distilled spirits directly to you? To order, simply call 859-394-3258. Tell them the ABV Network sent you. Finally, we are sponsored by the upcoming ABV Barrel Shop, a new liquor store experience coming to St. Louis, Missouri. The ABV Barrel Shop will serve as home to the ABV Network and will be owned and operated by Steve Akeley, Jim Fosnot, and Scott Creighton, a.k.a. the Barrel Buddies. To learn more about the investment opportunities in this new venture, listen to the ad at the end of this podcast. And now, on to the show.
Let's drink!
Welcome to the Bourbon Daily, the podcast about everything bourbon delivered to you every day of the week. Today on the show, we are going to complete a bracket challenge from our list of 8 important people in bourbon we put together yesterday to determine who is the number 1 person in the world of bourbon you should know. My name is McNew. Please join me in welcoming my co-host, Steve Akeley, along with our special guests, Danny Kennard, Jim Fosnot, and Tony Friend.
Hey, gang, what's up?
How we doing, Bill?
Good. So, yeah, we're going to have some fun today. We're going to finish out what we started yesterday. We've got our list of 8, and we'll go through that, and we'll have the number 1 person, the person that you absolutely have to know after, of course, Jimmy Russell. If you don't know who Jimmy Russell is, by the way, stop this recording right now and go ahead and research him. You got to know who Jimmy Russell is. Then come back to the show.
You're going to know what you need to know, okay?
Yeah, you got to know Jimmy Russell. That's a minimum point of entry into this. So, yes, but we'll do our 8 after Jimmy, but we'll get to that stuff after the break. For right now, McNew said there's something she wanted to talk about. What is that, McNew?
Yeah, okay. So around mid-December, Amazon's website went down for a few hours one day. And there were memes about people saying, oh my gosh, the world's ending. Amazon's down. Like people's Alexas weren't working. Their Ring doorbells weren't working. You couldn't add anything to your cart. People were concerned. So it made me think, is there a website or utility or something that legit went down? Would you actually think the world was ending? You're like, if this entity stops working, we're screwed.
Okay. What would be the website that went down that we assumed things are over? Boy, what would that be?
You said utility, right? So I would think the internet. If the internet goes down, I'm screwed.
Oh, yeah. Just the internet in general.
Yeah.
That's a big connection for a lot of people. And a lot of things run on the internet now. Like everything I use at work is web-based. We don't actually have our own things. So a lot of companies,
everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I read a whole book about if they would take down the electrical grid, like what would happen in the United States. And it's pretty fragile. Like you see it go down in California stuff for days, and Texas had an issue last year or whatever. And it wouldn't take a whole lot. This is kind of based on, terrorism or, some kind of stuff like that, what it would take. But they've done plans on it. And you don't think about this, but they said like in New York City, if the electric grid was down for 6 months, over half of the city would die because the average city only has 3 days of food supply at one time because it's all transferring in all the time. Well, you couldn't pump gas anymore. You couldn't have, subways working. You couldn't have trains working. You couldn't have. It was crazy. Just they did. If the United States was without power for 1 year, you would lose. There's 360 million people, and like 200+ million people would die in the United States in 1 year.
Well, when you think about Texas last year, people froze to death because their power grid went down because they wanted to be independent. So it's very fragile.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I thought that, as, COVID started and the grocery shelves got cleared. I remember one day we were in New Orleans. I'm coming back and the warden sends me a photo of the grocery store and just empty shelves. I mean, this is the store that we shop at every week. So this isn't like at some store in some weird time. This is the grocery store that we shop at literally every week. We go, usually on a Saturday morning and get our grocery shopping done. And it was cleared. I mean, most stuff was gone out of there. And it's like, what is happening? Or is this it? I mean, that was a scary time. I mean, again, going back to Jim's point, we're pretty fragile, really. We think, everything's under control and all that. And in reality, if they didn't get those shelves back filled up, what starts happening? People aren't going to be like, well, I guess I'll just starve to death and I'm be gone. No, there's going to be subdivision wars. There's going to be people turning on one another. And that was the scariest thing that I've ever seen, actually.
Several years ago, I was looking at, and my oldest son is a financial advisor. He's very good at what he does. And several years ago, I was talking to him about investing in gold. And he's like, why do you want to get gold? And I go, well, in case anything goes to shit, everything says you should get gold. He goes, if anything goes to shit, gold's not the currency. Ammunition's the currency. Stock up on ammunition.
He's right.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
ammunition is big. Gold could help too, though. I still think there'd be people who be like, this will come back and I've got the gold then. But yeah, I think the number one thing is ammunition, though. Yeah, you got ammunition, you got everything.
Number two would be bourbon.
Yeah.
We've all done a good job of stocking up on that.
If I'm going to be poor and starve to death, I'm going to be drunk while I'm doing it. Bourbon's high on that list.
Yeah.
Danny, with ammunition, I can take all your bourbon, buddy.
Right.
Yeah, you can.
This is true.
I'm going to be drunk enough to be like, just let me pass out here. Have what you want. Bye.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm definitely a different person coming out of COVID times versus going into them. So I'm pretty well armed at this point now. Don't ever think you can come over to my house for some food these days. Not suggested, by the way. Yeah. So, I had my buddy Royce Neely to walk me through what do I need to get and all this kind of stuff. I did. I'm loaded up, man. So, yeah, which is not bad. It all goes back to that grocery store shelves. When I saw that, I said, I was always the guy who's like, I don't ever need a gun. I've never had a use for a gun or anything like that. But when I saw that, I was like, it's time to get a gun. Just in case. Just in case. I'm not planning on using it, but just in case. And I didn't get just one. I got a bunch of them. So
like, you
get one, right?
Like,
right. Yeah.
We gotta get more.
Yeah. Oh, heck yeah. So yeah. Totally different times. So yeah, interesting. I think that's more so than any sort of website going down. Jim, you and I were out recently, and a couple of websites went down. We were even talking about that. We're like, what the hell's going on? And I think it was when we were doing the Stumpies thing when we were over there. I forget what it was though. It was a couple big websites. Was it Facebook and something else and Instagram? I think we're down. It was like, what the hell is happening? But, that stuff's weird when it happens, but hopefully not an indicator of things are ending. So yeah. All right. Well, guess what? It's time to drink some of that collection that we've put together just in case. We're gonna drink a little bit.
We got a little morbid, so let's drink. Let's go.
Yeah. What's everybody drinking? I've got still 630. I've got Missouri bourbon here, batch number 8. Well-loved bottle, more than halfway gone. I'm not anticipating a lot here, but you never know. I haven't opened this one in a while, so let's see what happens. Nothing. I was not even a victim of Mike Muffle. It just was no little up there. So that's what we got. Danny, you look like you're ready to go. What do you got? Are you on mute, Danny? Or
he is on mute.
He's on mute.
Yes, trying to keep the sirens down.
Okay.
Anyway, I've got 291 Expression M.
Okay. No.
Mike Muffle.
Mike Muffle.
It looked like it was going to be a good one, and then it just wasn't.
Mike Muffle got him. All right, Tony. Here's where Mike Muffle has the lead. What do you got?
I feel like Jeff from Iowa because I got all new bottles tonight. But
or Heidi.
Sticking. Yeah, Heidi too.
Yeah, it's her new thing. Heidi, goes shopping. Spends an average of $160. If she gets invited. Sure.
Sticking with the theme, I think you need to know the people at Peerless. This is the Peerless Double Oak Bourbon.
Okay.
Let's see here.
Let's see what we got. Oh, he's literally have to take the plastic off. This is brand new, folks.
Brand new. Just picked it up.
Okay. Oh.
Oh,
Not much. That was cute. That's the lead, actually, though. We had Mike Muffle took the first two. So.
Really? It sounded pretty good over here.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's been doing that. I don't know. It has to be like a new Zoom setting or something. I swear.
It could be.
It has to be.
You still have the lead, but it wasn't much there, Tony. When you go back and listen, you'll be like, okay, I know what they heard now.
Yeah, because a lot of mine, I'm like, that sounded really good, and then it doesn't on air. So I don't know.
McNew, what do you got?
I have Woodinville's straight bourbon whiskey.
Okay.
Ooh.
Also a new bottle, so we'll see what happens. It wasn't even good on my side.
No, Tony's got the lead. But not much there, Jim. This is an easy win for you if you got the right thing. What do you got?
It's only have 1 point. I've got the Jefferson's rye finishing cognac.
Okay.
So we'll see. It's been open once, but we'll see.
Yeah, there it is.
Jim.
That was a good one. That was legit good. So Jim takes it. So yeah, there you go. Cheers, gang.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
All right. We'll take a quick break. And then when we come back, we're going to be going through our bracket challenge to determine who is the number one person in bourbon that you must know. We'll do that in just a few. Hello, this is Steve Akeley of the ABV Network. Let's talk about the people who make this show happen. First up is Leatherwood Distillery in Pleasant View, Tennessee. Company founder Andy Lang started distilling as a hobby while serving his country as an elite Green Beret. Andy distilled all over the world during his time in the military and brought this passion back to him in the U.S. when he returned home. A visit to Leatherwood combines Andy Lang's unique distilled spirits and a museum of artifacts from his time serving the U.S. Share a drink with a fallen soldier at their bar where you can grab an acrylic bio off the wall that celebrates the individuals who gave the ultimate sacrifice to protect his or her country. They will also ship their distilled spirits directly to you, so check them out at leatherwooddistillery.com. We are also sponsored by Moonshine University. This longtime partner for the ABV Network helps educate individuals looking to get into the distilled spirits business, service industry employees looking to expand their knowledge, and individuals simply wanting to know more about the process and history of the spirits industry. In 2017, I completed my Executive Bourbon Steward certification at Moonshine University, and it's something I continuously draw upon and connect with fellow graduates. Check out their full listing of classes, including Executive Bourbon Steward certification, production classes, and more at moonshineuniversity.com. Okay, let's talk about Neely Family Distillery. In 2018, I met Royce Neely at an industry event. He started appearing on our shows, and we became friends during my frequent visits to Kentucky. Today, he's leading the way for young distillers making their mark on the bourbon industry. A visit to Neely Family Distillery combines family history, a look at what makes their products unique, and of course a tasting through their whiskeys, moonshines, and creams. Check them out at neelyfamilydistillery.com and visit them in Sparta, Kentucky. All right, back to the show.
I'm Davey Waltz.
And I'm Adina.
And you're listening to the Bourbon Daily.
Welcome back to the Bourbon Daily. Today we have a bracket challenge to determine the number one person in bourbon you should know.
Yes, we do. So here's our list. So this is the list as we came up with the order from yesterday. So it's Eddie Russell, Freddie Johnson, Jim Rutledge, Jackie Zykan, Fred Noe, Fawn Weaver, Mike Veach, and Andrew Weebrink. What I like about this list, I think we did a good job of a kind of a cross section of the bourbon industry. A lot of different, areas, people behind the scenes like Andrew Weebrink, people in front of the thing like Fred Noe, historians like Mike Veach, new business owners leading the craft movement, Fawn Weaver. It's a cool list for sure. So here's how they play out though. Freddie Johnson will take on Fawn Weaver in round number one. Andrew Weebrink takes on Jackie Zykan. Eddie Russell takes on Mike Veach, and finally Fred Noe versus Jim Rutledge. Round number one, up first, Freddie Johnson versus Fawn Weaver. Round number one, up first is Danny.
My vote's for Freddie.
Freddie goes up 1-0. Tony, what do you think?
Oh, geez, this is a hard one. Freddie's the face of Buffalo Trace, and really good guy. Got to meet him a few times. And Fawn is kind of changing the industry. she's bringing a lot of new light to Jack Daniels and Nearest Green. This is a tough one. I think Freddie has had a bigger impact so far, so I think I'm going to go with Freddie on this one.
Okay, Freddie. Freddie goes up 2-zip. What do you think, Jim? Freddie Johnson or Fawn Weaver?
I'm going to mix it up here a little bit. I love Freddie. I think he's done some great stuff, but man, Fawn is just changing the industry so much. Her impact she's having on the African American community with the amount of help she's opening up distilleries with them, the scholarships that she's doing. I just think her reach is going to be broader than Freddie's overall and her impact in the industry. And I think especially if you're a minority that's getting into bourbon, like, man, they're both tough. They're both. I mean, Freddie's fantastic, the face of Buffalo Trace, but I just think she's bigger than that. I think she's going to change the industry, where he's just kind of highlighted what's already been done.
Okay, McNew, what do you think? Freddie Johnson or Fawn Weaver?
I think this is a little bit old school versus new school, right? Like Freddie's a legend and he's done great things for the industry, is continuing to do so. But dude's got to retire at some point. Fawn is brand new, like Jim said, just changing the industry. The facility she's building in Tennessee, I think, is a game changer as well. I'm going to go Fawn Weaver because I think she's going to be around for a long time.
Fawn Weaver. Okay. I agree with everything that everyone has said to this point. You're both right. The two different takes here. Freddie Johnson, if that's the horse that you choose, I think that there's reasons for that. If Fawn Weaver is the one that you're choosing here, I think the reasons that you say for that are right as well. But I'll say this. Let's judge them on what they've done so far. And I think that Freddie has the edge here. I feel like Freddie is, he's a Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Famer. He represents 3 different generations. He's Freddie Johnson, of course, but he also represents Jimmy Johnson Sr., Jimmy Johnson Jr., the fact that his father and his grandfather worked at the company. There's been this continuity of there's always been a Johnson family member there from the beginning of the 20th century on forward. They've always been there at the million barrel mark when they've rolled out their latest million barrel. There's always been a Johnson family member there, which is kind of cool. I think he does represent a lot of different historical things. His father and grandfather both were the first to do their jobs in the bourbon industry, first supervisor and first manager of a warehouse. They've done great things, and I think Freddie represents that today. Down the road, his grandson Osiris, a chemist. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out he could be the master distiller down the road if the kid wants to do it. You don't want to put any pressure on somebody that young, but you know what? I think it's there for him. I think that down the road that the Johnson family plays a big role in bourbon, and I think will continue to do so. And I'm going to give my vote to Freddie Johnson. It's a tough one. Fawn Weaver's doing great things, and she is a major force in the world of bourbon, and unbelievable the job that she's done in a very short amount of time too. But Freddie gets the nod, at least at this point, for me. All right, next up is Andrew Webrink versus Jackie Zykan. Round number 2. Tony, you're first. Andrew Webrink or Jackie Zykan?
These are going to all be tough. People you must know. I think if you're a big bourbon nerd, you got to know who Andrew Webrink is. But for the general population, I'm thinking you're going to have to go with Jackie Zykan.
Jackie Zykan. That means Jackie goes up 1-0. Jim, what do you think?
I'm going to mix it up here. I love Jackie. I love everything she does. But I think as far as changing the industry or more involved in the industry, how many different brands and products is he involved with? How many things has he pioneered out there for different distilleries as far as different ways to char and toast, and they both do fantastic presentations. But I just love how he breaks down the science. So I'm going to go with Webrink.
That means Webrink has tied it up. McNew, what do you think? Webrink or Jackie Zykan?
So I'm thinking this is like your basic level bourbon fan. Like Webrink is one of those people, if you're involved, like if you know. I don't think that's true for the average bourbon fan. Like if you're not buying barrels, if you don't really care about barrels, if you're not really into like the Maker's Mark project he's doing with Jane, you don't know. He's not as public facing. I think for a bourbon fan, it's Jackie Zykan. Like you're going to want Jackie's autograph on some of those bottles you're getting. I'm going to go Jackie.
Jackie. Yeah, and I'm going to point to an actual incident here, and that's going to get my vote. So there was the release of Birthday Bourbon, not this past year, which that got crazy, but the year before that, Jackie's Icahn took donuts to the people standing outside waiting to get those, and the people that she started at the back of the line and worked forward, and the people that she was giving donuts to, most of them had no idea who she was, and to me, that's an embarrassment. That tells me that they're flippers. They're not really into bourbon.
Yep.
To me, that's a line. If Weebrink was there and saying the same thing, I don't know that there's a level of embarrassment by not knowing Weebrink. A savvy bourbon fan should know him, and I think that really ups your game if you do know who Andrew Weebrink is. But I think a basic thing is you got to know who Jackie's Icahn is. And when she shows up and hands you a donut, you're not like, "Who are you and why are you giving this to me?" That's embarrassing to me if you really think you're truly a bourbon fan. So I'm going Jackie's Icahn because I think she's a minimum barrier to entry at this point. You got to know who she is. So I'll go Jackie. That means she moves on. Next up is Eddie Russell versus Mike Veach. Round number 3. Jim, you're first.
That's another tough one.
Oh, yeah. Both in the Bourbon Hall of Fame.
These are all brutal. Man, I love Eddie Russell, but I got to go with Veach on this. Like his research and history and, what he's brought forward about the history of bourbon. He kind of started that movement, I think. And I feel, unfortunately, like Eddie's a little bit in his dad's shadow still right now. I think he's fantastic, but I think Veach, if you want to learn about bourbon, who better to learn from than knowing him?
Right. All right, McNew. Mike Veach is up 1-0 over Eddie Russell. Who do you think?
Yeah, I just think his research and knowledge and contributions, Mike Veach all day. I think Eddie's great, but like Jim said, a little bit still in Jimmy's shadow. Mike Veach for this one.
Yeah. My thought process is kind of the same. Jimmy Russell's there. He is still the person when you're talking about Wild Turkey. It's still him. It's still Jimmy Russell, even though day to day, Eddie Russell is the one, Jimmy's signing autographs in the distillery. And I was so glad to see, I've seen a couple people post here recently. He's doing that again. It makes you feel better about the world knowing Jimmy Russell's out there having conversation with bourbon fans, signing bottles and all that kind of cool stuff. And I do think that, Eddie unfortunately lives in the shadow. But I don't think that really bothers him. I think Eddie's comfortable in that, but I think for here, that means Mike Veach is going to take this, and it means Veach moves on with his third vote there. All right, let's put a couple of legends together here, and let's talk about Fred Noe versus Jim Rutledge. Who do you think you need to know? McNew, you're first. Fred Noe or Jim Rutledge?
All of these matchups have been so hard because they're
tough.
They're so equal. I think bourbon history wise, and for what he's doing now, Blue Run's pretty cool. I'm going to go Jim Rutledge.
Jim Rutledge, yeah. Whew, this is tough. I love Fred Noe, and I love everything that he represents for that Beam brand. But I think that a person that you have to know is Jim Rutledge. And you think he's been involved in like 4 different bourbon companies here recently. Again, more of a consultant, but they put him out front. There's no mistake about that. They're putting Jim Rutledge out front for a reason. He's made brands like Blue Run and the rye one that he's got out now. And there's a couple different brands that he has helped turn into a thing. And I think Jim Rutledge is going to get my vote here over Fred Noe. It's tough because I love Fred Noe, but I'm going to go Jim Rutledge. So round number 4, next up is Danny. Fred Noe or Jim Rutledge?
My vote would be Jim Rutledge.
All right, that means Rutledge moves on. Okay, our final 4 looks like this. Freddie Johnson versus Jackie's Icahn, Mike Veach versus Jim Rutledge. Round number 5, I'm up first. Freddie Johnson or Jackie's Icahn. This one's a tough one. As we know, St. Louis's own Jackie's Icahn. I think she's one of the real true players. She represents the future of bourbon. But I think Freddie Johnson represents, the past and where we're at right here, right now. And I got to go Freddie. I think that while it's tough for me to say, I'm going to go Freddie Johnson, and he's going to get my vote here. So Freddie goes up 1-0. Danny, what do you think? Freddie or Jackie?
This is really hard.
Oh, yeah.
Really hard. I mean, both are phenomenal people. I mean,
yeah.
all right. I'll go with Freddie.
Freddie goes up
Sorry.
2-zip. Goes up 2-zip with an apology from Danny. Tony, what do you think, Freddie or Jackie?
Yeah, like Danny said, this is tough. So both of them have kind of changed the game for their position. Like Freddie Johnson is just not a tour guide; he's the face
Right.
of the company, and Jackie Zykin's not just a taster or a promoter for the brand. She's almost like the face of the company. So they're both have kind of changed their positions and what they've done. Just because it's so hard, I'm just going to throw it to Jackie Zykin.
There you go. And I don't think there's anything wrong with taking a vote like that. When it's a toss-up, keep the thing going and see what happens. So, all right, round 5. Jim, you're next. Freddie Johnson or Jackie Zykin? Freddie's up 2-1 over Jackie.
I think they're both well-deserved, both fantastic people, both represent their brand very well. But I do believe that the history of Freddie kind of just takes him over the top with this one here, with his family history, the length of time that they've been involved in the distillery there with Buffalo Trace, and being in the Bourbon Hall of Fame. I think those things kind of push him over the top for me. So nothing against Jackie. If she wanted outright, I would have no problem with that. But my vote's going to go for Freddie.
Okay, that means Freddie moves on. Next up, round number 6. Danny, you are going to be first. Mike Veach or Jim Rutledge? Veach or Rutledge? Danny's doing something else right now. Mike Veach or Jim Rutledge, Danny?
Jimmy Rutledge.
Rutledge goes up 1-0. Tony, what do you think? Jim Rutledge or Mike Veach?
Oh, I didn't have a chance to vote on either of these two in the earlier rounds. For this one, I think Jim Rutledge might be a little bit more for the enthusiast to know. I think Mike Veach might be my vote for this one.
Okay, fair enough. That means Mike Veach has tied this thing back up. Jim, you're next. Mike Veach or Jim Rutledge?
Man, this is another tough one for me. These are all tough. I think Veach has done so much for the history of bourbon and the education of it, but man, Rutledge has done so much for the product. With the different distilleries that he's worked with and consulted for, and the things that he's put out. So I'm gonna go Rutledge on this one.
That means Jim Rutledge is up 2-1. McNew, what do you think? Mike Veach or Jim Rutledge?
Yeah, I think if somebody's just getting into bourbon and like they want to be a fan and they want to know more, I'm going to say go look at Mike Veach's website. Go read his books. I think Mike Veach in this case.
Yeah. It's hard for me to argue against what McNew just said, because that is a great starting point for someone who wants to know bourbon. Mike Veach does all the hard work. He does all the research and things like that. That's his specialty. If you talk to Mike Veach, you realize he's a researcher. That's where he's most comfortable at is doing research. But all of that being said, one of the key moments to bring back bourbon in this country when it was at its lowest, there's a couple of them. And Bill Samuels Jr. in that article in Wall Street Journal, that's one of them. Booker Noe rolling out the small batch collection, that's number 2. And the number 3 thing is the return of Four Roses. I think those are the big 3 things that help bring bourbon back. And Jim Rutledge did that. That was absolutely him driving that. He was tactical in his approach. The company didn't even want to sell their products in the U.S. And he said, hey, that's not fair. Let's at least allow us to sell in Kentucky where the employees who make this stuff can buy it. And he got the company to sign off for that after fighting over that multiple times, threatening to quit, and then finally getting him to do it. And he knew in the back of his mind, once you get it into Kentucky, because then other bourbon fans, that's where they all come and they get to taste it. They're going to want it in other places. And I just think that's that important of a moment that we need to recognize him by giving him my vote here. That means Rutledge moves on. Our finale looks like this. It stinks, to be honest with you. Freddie Johnson versus Jim Rutledge. This is tough. Tough. I hope I don't even have to vote on this. So there could be a scenario where I don't have to. I'm voting 4th here. So if it goes 3-0, I don't have to get involved. Tony, you're first. Mike Veach or Jim Rutledge? Excuse me, Freddie Johnson or Jim Rutledge?
Freddie Johnson or Jim Rutledge?
Whoa.
I mean, you really need to know both of these people, folks. If you're getting into bourbon, know who both of them are. But we do have to pick one out here. So
yeah, this is tough. I mean, you made a really good case for Jim Rutledge. Freddie and his family has done so much and have so much history with their family in Buffalo Trace. But I mean, I'm really just it's just a toss up. But I'm gonna have to go Jim Rutledge just by a hair.
Okay, that means Jim Rutledge goes up 1-0. Jim, what do you think? Freddie Johnson or Jim Rutledge?
Jimmy Russell. No, again, it's so unfair to have these two go against each other, and they both are just mean so much to the industry. But as much as I love Freddie, I just think what Rutledge has done for the product itself is different, and so I'm going to go with Rutledge on this one.
Okay, McNew, here's where we're at. Jim Rutledge is up 2-0 over Freddie Johnson. What do you think?
This one's so hard, and I think they're both so important. Jim Rutledge has done amazing things, is continuing to do so. But if you're asking who do you need to know, whose autograph can you go get, I think you're honestly more likely to meet Freddie Johnson. So I'm going to go and give Freddie some life here.
Freddie has life in this game. He's down 2-1. It's on me, the scenario that I did not want. And I this is tough for me because these two individuals are both friends. It's amazing to me. I never would have thought I could have got to this point where I can call either of these two gentlemen and pick up the phone and call them and talk to them. It's a dream come true. And they are both huge in the bourbon industry. All of that being said, I have to choose one over the other here. And I'm going to say, for the bourbon fan, for the person who just loves bourbon, the person who's just getting into it, who do they need to know about? I think this person is just a fan, and that's where they came from. And even though he comes from a family that was in the industry, I think what drives him is he's just a fan at the end of the day. And I'm going to say Freddie Johnson, and that means we're tied up 2-2. So Danny, everything that we've done, none of that matters. It all comes down to you now. You get to decide Freddie Johnson or Jim Rutledge. Who's the number one person people need to know about?
Oh, geez. Why?
No pressure.
Oh, this is too hard.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You thought being on the Bourbon Daily was going to be easy. No, it's not.
Oh.
It's hard. It's hard.
I mean, how do you pick between these two?
I know. It's ugly, right? It's not fun.
Dead air.
Dead air. He's thinking.
Well, I'm thinking.
Think out loud, Danny.
Yeah.
Let's.
Would you be offended if I put the sound of a hamster running on a wheel right now?
No. I mean,
Really slow.
The squirrel done burned up the wheel in my.
This is a tough one. Yeah. There's no doubt. There's no doubt that what you have now is a tough job because this is an important decision here. All right, what do you got, Danny?
I'm gonna go Freddie.
That means Freddie Johnson is the number one person that you need to learn about. If you want to be in the bourbon game, you want to say I'm a bourbon fan, know who Freddie Johnson is. So, of course, Jimmy Russell, number one, Freddie Johnson, number two. Those are the people you need to know. I don't think there's a wrong answer here. Literally anybody on this list could have won, and you could make the case why they won, and you would be right.
And anybody we talked about yesterday, all
right.
Great too.
No, all great. They all are awesome. So, yeah, it's a cool thing. But ultimately, who wins this thing today is Mr. Freddie Johnson. How about that? There you go.
Good job, Freddie. We love you.
Good job, Freddie. Freddie deserves it. So,
cheers to Freddie.
Cheers to Freddie. All right, we'll wrap this one up as we always do by talking about where people can find us. Danny, we'll start with you. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Facebook at Danny Kennard.
All right, Tony.
You can find me on Instagram at Glass of Whiskey 86.
All right, Jim.
Find me on Facebook at Jim Fosnot or on Instagram at FozJim, FAZZJIM.
All right, McNew.
I am on Instagram at McNew ABV.
All right, for me, I'm an easy guy to find. I'm at Steve Akeley on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. I've got a website, steveakeley.com. We've also got a company website, that thing's abvnetwork.com. Check it out because everything that we do is out there. Previous shows, blogs, so much more, abvnetwork.com. McNew, anything else to say before we get out of here?
I'd like to remind the audience to please give us a 5-star review that includes comments. It helps new people find the show, which is very important to us. And if you like what we're doing, we ask that you please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/the ABV Network.
All right, great job today, gang. For our audience, we'll have a brand new show for you tomorrow. Looking forward to that. Until then, take care, everybody. See ya.
Bye.
Peace.
Peace. Before we finish the show, let's talk about some great companies that support the ABV network. First up is Moonshine Still Pro. Moonshine Still Pro has a full line of products to help the home distiller. Whether you want to experiment on the stove in your kitchen or you're looking for a bigger setup in your backyard, owner Russell Creed and his team can help. They have multiple still offerings, accessories, and even grain from their partners at Goldstone Mill to assist you in making whiskey on par with your favorite distillery. They can also help you with some fabricated parts you probably can't make yourself if you are attempting a DIY still project. Learn more or order your still or parts at moonshinestillpro.com. Another friend of ours is the Goldstein family at Goldstone Mill. The Goldsteins offer a variety of heritage and heirloom grains to make the finest whiskeys in the world. Plus, they are more than just a grain company. They are truly consultants to make sure the grains they are providing to you or your business meet your highest expectations. Additionally, they work with mills around the country, ensuring shipping is as low as possible for their customers. If you're a distillery, brewery, or even doing this at home, Goldstone can assist you. Check them out at goldstonemill.com, call them at 217-254-6613, or check in via email at hello@goldstonemill.com. Last but not least, at the top of the show, I mentioned investment opportunities at the new liquor store concept, the ABV Barrel Shop, being launched in 2022 by myself, Jim Fosnot, and Scott Creighton. We are crowdfunding some of the capital needed to open the store. Not only does it offer a return on your investment, but a lifetime of status and benefits at the store. Of course, this investment is a loan and involves a high degree of risk, which may not be suitable for all persons. Prospective investors should carefully evaluate the risk and merits of an investment, should confer with their own legal and financial advisors, and should be able to bear the risk of the loss of their investment before considering the investment described herein. If you would like more information, contact us via the under construction website at abvbarrelshop.com and fill out the form.
The Bourbon Daily is part of the ABV Network. For more information or to become a sponsor, please visit abvnetwork.com. Thanks for listening and cheers.
This has been a Steve Akeley production.